In the desert, children were digging holes in the sand. A snake was seen nearby. A tired boy took off his shoes and touched the snake. As a result, he had to leave the desert. Stanley was walking in the city when suddenly a pair of shoes fell on his head and he fell down. His father was working on a medicine for foot odor, so Stanley decided to take those shoes home. At that moment, the police suddenly arrived there. They told that these shoes belonged to a famous baseball player and were stolen from a charity event. So the police suspected that Stanley was the culprit of this theft. The police took Stanley home and informed the family about this. But Stanley's family was not very surprised. They attributed it to a Sharpie that is on their family. At the same time, the police noticed some suspicious things. Stanley's father had an entire flat filled with dozens of shoe boxes, and Stanley had filled the walls of his room with posters. Evidence of the imprint of a shining star on the wall was found. So Stanley was sent to jail. He was given two options: stay in jail or 18 days in Blue Lake Camp. Stanley chose the camp. The bus took him to the middle of the desert where there were ditches all around. He reached a small town where there was shade, and all the children were in prisoner uniforms. Stanley met the camp's assistant, Mr. Marion, there. Sir explained the rules of the camp to Stanley. There was no guard tower or bond. There was only desert all around, and there was no water either, so no one tried to escape. Stanley got 2 clothes and a digging tool. Every day he had to dig a 5-foot deep hole and measure its depth with the same tool. If he dug too much, he would have to stand in the sun for longer. He also had to be careful of snakes and yellow-spotted lizards because they were dangerous. Stanley meets the camp counselor, Dr. Pendansky. He shows him around the camp and tells him the most important rule: never bother the officers. Then he asks the other boys to show Stanley his sleeping place. The place was dirty, where there were vomit stains from a child. Dr. Pendens calls the children by their real names, but the children call each other by nicknames. The youngest boy is Zero. He got this name because he almost never speaks. If someone accidentally calls someone by their real name at camp, he is immediately reminded that only nicknames are allowed here. For dinner, Stanley gets only Hanukkah roti made in different ways. Peter snatches his food because Stanley did not dig today. The children ask Stanley why he is here. Stanley tells them that he is accused of stealing the famous player's shoes. Hearing this, Zero suddenly asks if those shoes had a red X mark on them. Everyone is surprised. Stanley confirms it, and his mind flashes back to the court scene where the baseball star told them that he grew up in an orphanage, and that is why he donates to charity. That night, Stanley could not sleep. He remembered his grandfather's words that there was a curse on their family, because of which his father never succeeded in his discoveries. Even his great-grandfather was unlucky. He had earned a lot of money from the stock market, but a notorious criminal harmed him. The criminal's name was Parasite, who was very ruthless and dangerous. He had a habit of leaving a mark of red lipstick on the victims' faces after killing them. But he did not kill Stanley's great-grandfather. He just took away their valuables and left them to die of thirst in the desert. The next day, the children were woken up for work while it was still dark. Everyone got a cake and a sandal for breakfast. As soon as Stanley took one sandal, Peter pushed him away. That sandal was Peter's and was small. The team reached the digging. Mr. Sir explained to Stanley that if something interesting is found during the digging, he will have to report it. If the guard likes that thing, he will get the whole day off. He also said that he was not looking for anything in particular, but all this was to strengthen the thinking and character of the children. Then all the children started working. While digging, sometimes the soil would fall at another place. Stanley tried to make everyone careful. When Stanley said that do not throw the soil you excavated in another trench, everyone started making fun of him. While digging the pit, thoughts of the family curse came to his mind. His ancestor Ilya worked in a pig farm and fell in love with the owner's daughter Mara. Ilya went to a local witch, Ziaroni, for advice. Ziaroni said that he should give up and go to America and seek his fortune. But Ilya did not give up and asked Mara for marriage. The owner refused. At that time, another candidate had given a big pig in dowry. That is why Ilya's proposal was rejected. When Ilya became sad, Ziaroni took pity on him. He told Ilya the way that every day he should go to the mountain carrying a small pig in his lap. There he gave him water from the spring and sang a song for him. By doing this, the pig would grow big, and Ilya would also become strong. Later, that pig would become the best dowry. Gyerny also put a condition that after giving the pig, Elia would carry it on his shoulders to the mountain so that it could also drink water. If Elia broke this promise, then he would be cursed. The curse was to be on the whole family and the future generations. Elia obeyed Gyerny for a few days, and the pig kept growing big. He took it to the owner. But his and the other boys' pigs turned out to be equally big. The owner told Mara to choose her own husband. Mara jokingly asked him to play a game of numbers. Elia was very upset by his careless and superficial nature and decided to go to America as Ziaroni had said. But while leaving, he forgot the promise he had made to Ziaroni. For breaking his promise to take Ziaroni to the mountain, his grandmother cursed Elia's entire family forever. Now in the present, Mr. Sir comes with a truck to the pits where the children are pouring water. He makes fun of Stanley because his hands have blisters in just one day of digging. The first to dig was Zero, who was so fast that the children joked that he dug the pit. When Stanley finished his pit, no one helped him get out. He had to learn to climb on his own. On his way back to the city, Stanley meets Mr. Sir, who has a gun up his sleeve. Stanley thinks he is pointing it at him. But actually, he was aiming at a yellow-spotted lizard. The first shot missed and the lizard pounced on Stanley. Then Mr. Sir fired the second shot and killed it. Days passed, and Stanley slowly started getting used to the harsh life of the camp. He would wake up early in the morning, eat bitter boiled lentils, and dig all day long, which would cause blisters on his hands. Sometimes he would see dangerous animals, and sometimes even the shower would not work. The other children often made fun of him. Children called Stanley weak, but he kept on suffering everything silently to avoid troubles. He lied in letters to his mother that he was spending a fun summer in a good camp. One day he found a fossil while digging which he showed to Pentanski, but the doctor said that the camp manager had no interest in fossils. He also told that this place was earlier a pond, and the surrounding land belonged to Quang Trap's grandfather. Hearing this brought back old memories. At that time the town was very lively. A merchant, Sam, used to come here and sell special onions, about which he used to say that it is a cure for every disease and also drives away dangerous lizards. Sam fell in love with the school teacher, Catherine. He always brought a bag of onions for him, and Catherine gave him a jar of peaches plucked by her own hands. Most of the boys in the town liked Catherine, and they did not like at all that Sam was getting more importance than them. One day during the rainy season, Catherine was helpless. Water was leaking from the school roof, so the children were sent home early. Sam took the responsibility of repairing it, and on this pretext he came close to Catherine. The closeness between the two increased, and Sam also helped in repairing the rest of the damaged parts of the school. In the evening, when Catherine used to take the class of the adults, Sam saw that some men used to talk dirty to her again and again. Walker, the supervisor of the camp, used to directly call her on a date. But Catherine refused. This made Walker angry. Gradually, the school got better. The school was the most beautiful building in the town, but Sam had lost his ass, so he had to use the boat. One rainy afternoon, Sam and Catherine took a dare and kissed each other. Walker saw this and immediately spread the news throughout the town. Within a few hours, all the men gathered and burned down the school as punishment. Panicked Catherine went to the police captain to ask for help. But he was drunk and insisted on kissing her. Catherine pushed him and he mocked her. He insulted Sam and reminded him that intercaste relations are illegal. Sam will surely be hanged. Frightened, Catherine immediately ran to warn Sam, but it was too late. Sam was shot while sitting on the boat. After some time, Catherine came back and shot the police captain. Then she planted the kiss on his lips that he always wanted. After this, Catherine left the town and became a notorious killer known as Kissing. Now in the present, Peter comes to meet Stanley. He says that next time if he finds anything, he will have to give it to her. Later in the city, Stanley suddenly bumped into the same boy who used to tease him and his friend, and a fight almost broke out. But the other children intervened, and from then on Stanley started getting respect from that group. They started calling him Caveman. He even got a good place in the line to get water. After a while, Stanley got a letter from his mother. It was written in it that his father's efforts are still not successful, and the landlord may evict them from the house soon. Meanwhile, Zero saw Stanley reading the letter. Then Zero admitted that he never knew how to read and write and requested Stanley to teach him. But Stanley refused. He said that I am not a good teacher, and I need rest after the whole day's fatigue. Once while digging, Stanley suddenly found a small thing on which KB was written. The children thought that it might be a pistol bullet shell, but it was very thin. Peter immediately snatched it and ignored Stanley's refusal. When Pendensky saw this, he immediately informed his senior, the camp officer. Soon she appeared, and all the children were surprised to see that she was a beautiful woman. She was very happy with this discovery. She asked Peter to rest for the whole day and ordered the other children to dig the entire area around Peter's hole. That afternoon, the children started playing as usual. The boys kept digging harder, but they found nothing because it was not the right place. For the next few days, they kept digging in the same tunnel, but they only found a small nub. Finally, the camp in charge gave up and sent the children to dig again as they had done before. The next day, when Mr. Sir was giving water to the children, a boy secretly stole a bag of sunflower seeds from the truck. After Mr. Sir left, the children started sharing and eating the seeds. But after a while, they noticed that the bag was missing and Mr. Sir returned. The children quickly started hiding the bag, but by mistake, the seeds fell near Stanley's feet. He tried to cover them with sand. When Mr. Sir returned, he still saw the scattered seeds. Stanley suddenly admitted his mistake instead of his friend, which shocked everyone. Immediately, Mr. Sir took him to the camp in charge for punishment. Inside the office, there were posters of kissing Kate on the walls. The man in charge showed Stanley a special nail polish he had made himself and which had drops of snake venom mixed in it. After applying the nail polish, he suddenly slapped Mr. Sir in the face because he had unnecessarily interfered with Stanley's digging work, just because of a few sunflower seeds. Then he calmly let Stanley go back. When he came back to the digging area, the children looked at him like a hero, and Zero completed his pit. To thank him, Stanley promised to teach Zero how to read and write. The next time he met Mr. Sir, he showed 2 terrible scars on his face which were caused by the warden's poisonous nails. He was so angry that he did not even give Stanley water. Meanwhile, Stanley remembered what he had seen in the warden's office and thought that the small metal tube he had found was Kish and Kate's lipstick stick. Memories came to the fore. Kate killed only those people who were involved in Sam's death and the burning of the school, but he also robbed many times. Kate took the magical sword from Stanley's great-grandfather and buried it at the place where the pond was earlier. While resting, Kate is caught by Walker and his wife. At that time, the city was completely destroyed because the pond had dried up the day Sam died, leaving people penniless. Instead of killing them, Kate chose the path of sweet revenge and released a lizard to bite herself, which took the secret with it. The secret to hiding the treasure is buried in the grave. That is why Walker and all his descendants will always keep digging uselessly in this vast desert. Now coming back to the present, Stanley started teaching Zero to read and write. Zero told his real name. Hector Ziaroni, that is, he is the child of that witch Ziaroni, because Zero used to dig holes very fast. So he started helping Stanley. Due to this, the other children started getting jealous of him. One evening, Zero told about his mother. His mother had worked very hard to raise him, but one day she suddenly disappeared. Zero had to wander the streets. A few days later, one of the children who often bullied Stanley got into a fight with him again and said that Stanley had helped so he could dig. Stanley confronted him, and Pendansky even provoked the two to fight so that the issue could be resolved. When the two were fighting on the ground, Stanley quickly got weakened. Then Zero jumped in between and saved his friend and almost killed the boy. Pendansky stopped the fight by firing a shot in the air, and after a while the camp supervisor came. The children told that Zero had helped Stanley dig, but Stanley immediately clarified that it was not so. It was just that Stanley used to teach Zero. But the warden was very angry and Pendansky kept making fun of Zero. He used to tease him by calling him lazy. After bearing so much pressure, Zero finally got angry. Pendansky was reprimanded, and then he ran away into the desert. Mr. Sir wanted to go catch him, but the warden stopped him and said that Zero has no family. Just erase his records and pretend he never existed. That night the kids were discussing that Zero will surely die in the desert. Stanley was constantly worried, and he was remembering the story of your great-grandfather who survived for 16 days in the desert after escaping from robbers. People say that he found the place which you call the finger of God, but in reality no one knows what it is, because when he found it, he had almost gone mad. The next day a new kid came who was going to take Zero's place, which made Stanley feel bad, so he made a plan. When Mr. Sir came to fill water, Stanley suddenly jumped on the truck and left from there. Mr. Sir immediately stuck to the door of the truck. Stanley was trying to remove him, but due to distraction, the truck fell into a deep pit. Instead of giving up, Stanley got out of the car and ran straight towards the desert, while the rest of the people were cheering loudly. When the camp madam got the news, she ordered Mr. Sir to report Stanley's disappearance after 2 weeks. Because no evidence would be found till then, Stanley did not lose courage and kept walking amidst the scorching sun and burning heat. Without caring about the poisonous lizards around him, he finally found Sam's boat, and Zero was lying under it. He was tired and completely weak, but No was also alive. Zero kept his courage up by eating the jar of sweets that Kate had given Sam many years ago, and now they were sealed in a glass jar. When Stanley ate the sweets too, he saw a mountain in the distance that looked like a thumb and immediately understood that his ancestors had once lived there. The two boys left the boat and started climbing the mountain. It was a very difficult task. Stanley slipped and almost fell, but Zero quickly extended his hand and pulled him up. Zero's hand was injured, so Stanley bandaged it with all his might. The two walked a little further, but soon Zero became weak and fell. Stanley caught him before he could fall, but by then Zero was very tired and fainted. Instead of giving up, Stanley lifted his friend on his shoulders and carried him to the top of the mountain, just like his ancestors used to carry pigs. Eventually, Stanley found a green area with a small canal running through it and some tasty onions. Sam woke Zero up and ate with him to help him regain his strength. Stanley sang an old family song that had actually been passed down through the generations. This soothed Gianni's spirit and the curse was lifted. The third Stanley found a way to get rid of foot odor by mixing peaches and onions, which made the family happy. The next day, Gianni told the truth that he had stolen the shoes. He had stolen them from the children's home. But to escape the police, he threw them in the river, which accidentally fell on Stanley. Later, Gianni was caught stealing shoes from another store. Stanley was not angry, but was happy, accepting it as fate. Then his lawyer came and proved him innocent and got him released from the correctional facility. The prison officer was angry. The lawyer was sent away, but he promised to come back with support. After Stanley and Gianni recovered, they returned to the same place where Stanley had found the piece of lipstick earlier. After hours of digging, they found the treasure box. Just then, the camp in charge and Mr. Sir reached there, but a flock of poisonous lizards climbed on the boys and the treasure and saved them. The camp in charge decided to wait for the lizards to kill the children. The next morning, the lizards did not bite Stanley and Zero. Just then, the lawyer returned with the police. The camp in charge lied that the children had stolen the treasure box and fled, but Zero proved the truth and told that Stanley's great-grandfather's name was written on it. Then everyone returned to the city. The lawyer announced to leave after keeping the treasure box in the car, but Stanley refused to leave the camp without Zero. The lawyer asked for Zero's record, but it was missing. Police investigation revealed that Mr. Sir was actually an escaped criminal and not the real Doctor of Pendens. Both the jail officers were arrested. At the same time, it rained after many decades, and the children came out and started celebrating. A few days later, Stanley and Zero opened a restaurant with their family, which had treasure and valuable shares. The treasure was divided equally between Stanley and Zero, and the family approved. Zero used the money to hire a private detective and found his